Oh, sweet dealio. Da, 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 da. Fuck, my whole computer like restarted. Jesus. Stream. What is going on, you beautiful people? Why you're so difficult? It looks like the YouTube side of things is not working, so we might just be doing perhaps, maybe, I don't know. Alright, everybody, so today we're going to be talking about muscle loss with Ozempic and all the wonderful things that may or may not come up with that. Can you guys hear me now? Yay, nay, possibly, everything in between? Possibly not, maybe, perhaps. Awesome, cool. All right, so yeah, we'll have to just take a swing at it because YouTube is not cooperating in any kind of form or fashion, and I have no idea why. But we will kind of more stream to the TikTok side of things, I guess, today, and take it from there. But it's been a month since we've been on here to chat. It's ridiculously hot here in Calgary, Alberta right now. I think we're like plus 34 or 35 degrees today. It's been absolutely stupid. But we're going to give you the lowdown on whether we need to be worried about muscle loss with the GLP-1 receptor agonist. It's kind of been a hot topic for a lot of people, usually as the case. A YouTuber or other influencer had an N of one, or one patient or one individual that they saw muscle loss with, and so decided to sound the alarm and freak everybody out. When we actually look at the data and such like that, it's very inconclusive. And what I mean by that is, when it comes to the muscle loss that's going to happen with Ozempic and such, or the other GLP-1 receptor agonists, anytime you embark on any kind of weight loss journey, you're going to lose weight. Like that is just the reality. You're going to lose some amount of that weight is going to be muscle mass. Nothing you can do about it. It's a real pickle, if you will, but it's just the reality that when you put yourself into a calorie deficit, muscle is going to be lost. It's part of your body's natural process. Our goal, obviously, is to lose the least amount of muscle mass as possible, because muscle is a good thing. The more muscle you have up to a certain point, the healthier you are, the better that you'll have in terms of mobility, preventing falls and fractures later on in life, all of these sorts of things. Plus, when it comes to weight or maintaining our weight into the long term and stuff, it's going to be important for helping us to maintain that weight, because our muscle is our main metabolic engine, if you will. So we obviously want to do a very good job of trying to maintain it the best that we can. Now, what the data actually shows in terms of muscle loss with the GLP-1 receptor agonist is, one of the main trials that people are quoting comes from the trial with Wegovy. And basically what they did is they took a small subset of people that lost, about on average 15% of their body weight from baseline, and they did what's called a DEXA scan before and afterwards. A DEXA scan is essentially kind of like a type of X-ray type imaging. It's like the most gold standard, bestest thing that we have in terms of determining your body composition. So how much fats, muscle, and that sort of thing. Obviously, it's not perfect by any means, but it does a pretty darn good job of giving us a good estimate. And what they found is, in the group that lost weight on Wegovy, they found that it was nearly 50 or 40% of the weight that group lost came from muscle mass. On average, if you were to just go on a standard calorie diet, we expect it to be 20 to 30%. So definitely higher than what we would see with just say a standard diet. But with this trial, what they also found is that in the placebo group, so the group that didn't get Wegovy or anything, they basically were just given essentially a sugar injection, if you will. And so they're pretty close to kind of just the standard population that does a usual calorie deficit diet. In that group, over 50% of the weight that they lost came from muscle mass, which doesn't make any sense. Our usual is 20 to 30% in a group that's not using any of these medications, and suddenly they're losing over 50% muscle mass. So there's already a pretty big red flag with that study. The results don't quite make sense, and I suspect that the muscle loss that we saw with Wegovy actually was inflated and probably is a lot closer to the 20 and 30%. Now, further studies and further meta-analysis and stuff like that have kind of shown some similar results in some respects, in terms of maybe not 40%, but pretty along the lines of that 30%, maybe a bit more in some respective cases of things. And so it's something to be mindful of and that we need to be thinking about, but also there's another kind of confounder there, in that if you live in a larger body, in general, you have more muscle mass. And so what we found when we look at the fat loss to muscle loss ratio, what ended up happening is that these people are actually losing weight, and they're losing a proportionate amount of muscle that is appropriate. And when they get to a new lower weight, the amount of muscle that they have is still adequate for the size that they're at, for the weight that they're currently holding at that lower level. So they may have lost a greater percentage of muscle mass, but overall the ratio of fat to muscle loss is still adequate and okay, because now they have an appropriate amount of muscle still for their current size, if you will. So there's a lot of confounding factors into it. Do we need to be mindful of it? I mean, yeah, we want to retain as much muscle as we can, and if you're living in a larger body and you already have more muscle on average and such, yeah, you want to take advantage of that and use that so that you can keep the weight off in the long term. It'll help with your metabolism later on and all that sort of thing. And if you're not, if you're using one of these medications or going on any kind of weight loss journey, and you're not keeping your protein intake high, you're not doing any resistance training, then you definitely need to get on that. Not only are those things hugely beneficial for your general health and all that kind of stuff, but they're also going to help you to preserve that lean muscle tissue, whether you're on that drug or not. So highly recommended that you get plenty of protein. In general, with Wegovy and the other drugs, the concern around the muscle loss component of things, not our end-all be-all. Something to be mindful of again, but not the end of the world. And so trying to add in the resistance training, high protein diet are going to help you to preserve and maintain more muscle mass in the long term. And it's things that you should be doing anyways, regardless of the drug. So that's kind of the dealio in terms of muscle loss with Ozempic, Mounjaro, Saxenda, all the other GLP-1 receptor agonists. Overall, not a huge major concern by any means. And something we'll kind of keep watching and whatnot like that. And yeah, we'll go from there. So questions and such like that. And some people look like they're already putting them in. So let's see what we got going on. For Grace, I've lost over 100 pounds in 1 year on Ozempic. The nausea is terrible though. That is a shit ton of weight. Yeah, I mean, if you have like horrible side effects and stuff like that, like you really need to weigh the pros and benefits and stuff like that of some of these medications. And I generally don't recommend people, staying on these drugs if they're getting bad side effects, because that's no quality of life. Like, sure, the number on the scale went down, but who cares if you feel like crap? So yeah, that's kind of something to certainly think about. Whitney, how do you feel about the SATI surgery? I need you to, I'm assuming that's an acronym. I need you to spell that one out for me. Alex, how do I lose weight naturally? Tried Ozempic and was violently ill. So the way to lose weight is you fundamentally need to be in a calorie deficit. So the calories that you're consuming must be less than the calories that you are burning. A really quick formula to kind of get you started off with is to take your goal body weight and times it by 12. So if, for example, you're 250 pounds and you want to weigh 200 pounds, 200 times 12 gives you about 2,400 calories. If you eat 2,400 calories consistently every single day, you'll lose weight. It'll be a nice progressive and steady weight loss. It won't be drastic or anything like that, but it'll likely be a lot more sustainable for you. So yeah, that's kind of what needs to happen. And then there's a whole pile of other factors with regards to mental health, mental well-being, strategies for setting up your environment to be as successful as possible, and all the above. So that is kind of the dealio there. Anita, my cat is kind of obese. Can you help with that? Not even kidding. I definitely do not do any kind of feline healthcare at all. CK Dunk, is body weight only on lightweight sufficient, or do you have to lift heavy? Good question. So when it comes to resistance training, it could be body weight, it could be lighter weights. The biggest thing is basically you need to put the muscle under load. So when you're walking and stuff like that, yeah, you're putting your leg muscles under load and stuff, and you can extend the length of your walks and whatnot, and that'll put more load on them. But when it comes to your upper body, using various either bands, weights, body weight, those sorts of things are all fantastic and great. In the best case scenario, you would be engaging in a process that we call progressive overload. So for example, if you work your way up to being able to do 10 push-ups, 10 push-ups is, relatively easy. Progressive overload then would be then trying to do 11 push-ups, and then 12, and then 13. So you're progressively adding more and more reps, or in terms of weight, you're progressively adding more weight, and that's going to continually tear and rebuild the muscle, create new stimulus, and ultimately allow the muscle to grow and get stronger. And so, that would be kind of that perspective. However you do it is really up to you. It's just putting your muscle under some kind of load. Andrea, hey, if I do intermittent fasting and do 3 hours of walking every day, will I lose weight? If you're in a calorie deficit, you will. If you're not, you will not lose weight. I'm always so hungry, especially at night. What helps with that? Anything. So what I generally would look at is we really want to increase your protein intake, getting that optimized. And in particular, trying to, if you have hunger at night, one of the best things to work on is getting more of your calories and a large amount of protein earlier in the day. So having a good breakfast and everything like that, snacks, lunch, all that sort, eating more during the day, that's going to help to curb the evening hunger. And then overall, just in general hunger, increasing that protein intake, that's going to help with satiety and such like that. And not just like, a little bit of an increase. A good way to kind of figure out your protein intake would be take your goal body weight and times it by 1. So if your goal body weight is 150 pounds, times that by 1, and you get 150 grams of protein is what you should be aiming for to eat. And that will substantially reduce your overall hunger. And it's very hard to get that amount of protein in, but it has super, super great benefits. And then looking at all the other aspects of your dietary patterns and stuff. So increasing your veggie, fruit intake, getting more fiber in, all of those things are ultimately going to help to manage that hunger. The key though is consistency, and not just doing it for a week. You're going to have to do it for a few weeks to really get the biological mechanisms and driver knocked down a little bit more. Susanna, is there an option for people with retinopathy? Good question. So technically, people with retinopathy could still use medications like Ozempic and Saxenda and stuff like that. It's because those medications don't cause the retinopathy itself. what can occur is that if you have retinopathy and you go on one of these drugs and we drop your blood sugar levels too quickly, that's what ultimately can worsen the retinopathy. But if you use the medication and we take it very slow, we use incremental increases and that sort of thing, or we even get your blood sugar under control with other agents and then add one of these GLP-1 medications on, then you're not going to get that large drop in blood sugar levels and ultimately leading to the retinopathy. So technically, still could use the GLP-1 medications. It would just be a lot of monitoring and follow-up and all that kind of stuff, and finding a clinician to do that would be quite challenging. On the flip side of things, there is Contrave. In the States, there is the Quisiva and the phentermine. So those are other options that could be considered. But yeah, kind of chat with your doctor and that sort of thing. Oh, the duodenal switch surgery. Okay. So what are my thoughts on the duodenal switch surgery? I mean, the bariatric surgeries are very, very effective for the individuals that get them. Yeah, there's complications and things that certainly can come with them, and it's certainly making sure that you're educated and have a good understanding with the surgeon and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, they definitely are another tool in our toolbox to help individuals that are struggling with their weight. There's a lot of kind of in terms of the run-up and on the other side of things, and that definitely can make it more challenging and such like that. So it's a lot of work kind of before and afterwards and stuff, but definitely can be effective. Like anything else though, there's always a chance of kind of weight regain, and that's kind of where it comes into, it's a tool to help you manage kind of creating the lifestyle habits and patterns that ultimately work for you and help you to be successful into the long term of things. So Monique, I have nausea with Ozempic too, but I eat way less and my blood sugar is under control now. Small price to pay for weight loss, I say. I mean, yes and no. Like, again, great that the number on the scale's gone down, but if you feel like a bag of shit every day, right? I mean, I wouldn't want to be nauseous every day, so really kind of thinking about what is the underlying aspect, and really when we're using these medications, it's not just weight loss, we're striving for health and such like that. And so if it's okay, like it's manageable, cool, fantastic, but if it's to the point where it's disrupting your day and your quality of life, then that's not health anymore, right? That's just, okay, cool, like your weight's down, blood sugars are down, so we may live longer, but is it going to be quality years or is it just going to be quantity years? So all things kind of to keep in mind and to be thinking about, and even kind of restructuring what your idea and perspective of success is into the long run of things. If it's just to see the number on the scale go down, well, that success metric is eventually going to blow up on you because you don't have any control on it, right? And so really kind of understanding what the bigger picture of it all is and what it is that you actually want for your life and stuff too. So always being mindful of those things. Cereal, has anyone had the opposite effects with Ozempic? I'm hungry every hour. So it's a good indication that you need to eat more food. If your body's hungry, you need to eat. Your body, Ozempic doesn't increase your hunger in any kind of form or fashion. It decreases your appetite and that sort of thing. If it's not working or feels like it's not working or it's not suppressing your appetite, well, it's because you're not taking care of your body and nourishing it with the proper nutrients. And you can pump in as much of this drug as you want, but eventually biology is going to take over if you're not properly feeding it, and it's going to get you to eat. So, yeah. Lindy, 60, fast for 14 hours, gym, bike, and eat balanced, never over 2K calories, gaining weight, HBP. So, you're not in a calorie deficit. There's somewhere in there where you're either not tracking closely enough, you're getting in extra calories or something like that, but if you're gaining weight, you're eating over the amount of calories that what you're burning and stuff like that. That's just the law of physics. I see it every single day, and often when we dig into it and stuff like that, yeah, there is some kind of gap or what have you, or there's even the aspect of what you're defining as success, or whether you're just weighing in once a week and you see the number go up and then you say screw it and then you come off of it and you start the whole cycle again. It's a matter of also being consistent with it and knowing that could be 1 week, could be 2 weeks, could be 3 or 4 weeks before you see any dip, but your weight during that period of time is going to go up and down. The key is to be consistent with it and not just 5 days a week, 7 days a week, around the clock, and the results will come. But if you're gaining weight, your calories in are greater than your calories out. So I need a sheet. Look at all the great suggestions. Psyllium fiber, fantastic for fiber intake. I use Metamucil daily. It's awesome. Awesome, yeah, cut up carrots, add some veggies, those are awesome. What is the cause of not losing weight while in a calorie deficit? You're not in a calorie deficit. That's just the reality of it. It's something I tell people every day that they don't want to hear, but that is exactly what is happening. If you're not in a calorie deficit, you're not going to lose weight. So it's looking at where the gaps are, what your consistency is, what are the areas and your expectations around the number on the scale. Are you weighing every day? Are you taking other measurements? All these things kind of need to be taken into account. And if it's just kind of like you go for a week, don't see a drop, and you say, screw it, well, yeah, you didn't do it for long enough. You need to consistently keep going week after week. Tamara, I've lost so much hair. Biggest thing with the hair loss and stuff like that is it's a condition called Tophylium, I can't remember. Basically, it's like a stress response. So what can sometimes happen when you go on these medications is that when your calories drop or you start losing weight very rapidly, basically the body can go into a bit of a stress response and say, whoa, we need to divert resources from fast-growing hair or fast-growing cells like your hair and whatnot like that, and so potentially can lead to hair loss. Also, if you're not providing your body with enough protein and enough nourishment to keep the proverbial lights on, yeah, your body is going to rob energy from things like your hair and various other places and stuff like that in order to keep those lights on and keep you going and moving in the direction of being alive and stuff like that. So definitely increasing your protein intake and making sure you're eating adequate amount of calories, hugely important. Beck, I have Hashimoto's and I'm hypothyroid. What's the best way to initiate weight loss? So if you have Hashimoto's and hypothyroid, first thing you need to do is making sure that you get your thyroid corrected hormonally. Those things are all good to go and set like that. So using the various, Synthroid or other hormonal therapies in order to correct your thyroid disorder and such. And then basically going into a calorie deficit and consistently doing it. So that's pretty straightforward. That's all there is to it. Yeah. Tamara, can you repeat the math equation for how much protein? So the math equation for protein intake is to figure out what your goal body weight is in pounds. So if you're 250 pounds and your goal is to get to 200 pounds, take your goal body weight and times it by 1 in pounds. That'll give you 200 grams of protein, or if your goal body weight's 150 pounds, that'll give you 150 grams of protein, and so on and so forth. In terms of your calorie intake, to put yourself into a calorie deficit, really easy equation is taking your goal body weight, again in pounds, and timesing it by 12. And that can give you your calorie amount. That, again, if you follow it consistently, it'll help you to be in a calorie deficit and lose weight in a much more sustainable way. So Melissa, I've been on Saxenda for the past 2 years, but in the last 6 months I've gained back 15. Should I go off and back on? No. So I never recommend people coming off because the medication's hasn't stopped working or anything like that. It's a matter of we need to look at the lifestyle component of things and seeing how much protein you're eating, fiber intake, are you eating consistently over the course of the day, and are you eating like enough calories so that you're not getting rebound binges and that sort of thing. And so yeah, so give you guys a bit of a perspective because this question's kind of come up a couple of times here. The way you can kind of think about it is, well, first we'll kind of do the biology of what's going on in terms of managing our weight and our appetite. So when we look at weight management, a really simplified way to kind of think about it is what's happening in the brain. And so I like to break the brain into two parts. We have what's called the primal lizard brain, and then we have the modern brain. Now your primal lizard brain, its sole function is to keep you alive, all right? But it has a couple of problems. The first one is that over the course of your life, it has learned the most effective and rewarding way in order to solve the various problems that it encounters in your day-to-day, and it happens to be very presently focused. So, to give you an example, it detects that you're cold. It's going to send a signal that says, go put on a jacket or turn up the thermostat. Well, it knows that turning up the thermostat's a lot more efficient, a lot more rewarding, so it's always going to want you to do that. Further, you might think, well, what about my gas bill at the end of the month? Your primal brain doesn't care about the gas bill at the end of the month. It's caring about the next 5 minutes and keeping you alive. And so turning up the thermostat is going to give it the most efficient and best way to do that. Same thing with food. When it detects that your body is hungry, the primal lizard brain is going to send a signal to go eat. Now, it would be great if our brain just said, hey, go and eat apples all day long and, manage your weight. But your brain has learned that apples are great and can be nourishing, but so can apple pie, and apple pie is a lot more delicious and amazing at the same time. So it's always going to want to go for that apple pie. Now, obviously, we're not all running around just eating apple pie all day and cranking our furnaces and stuff like that. And that's because we have the modern brain. The modern brain is able to keep the primal brain at bay. The problem with the modern brain is that it tends to be very lazy and it gets very tired very quickly. So what I mean by it being lazy is that if you haven't set up your environment to be as easy as possible, like if things are too hard or things aren't going your way that day or whatever, your modern brain is going to say, screw it, I give up. I'm going to defer to the primal brain, and the primal brain is going to get you to engage in a behavior that you likely don't want. So for example, say you're trying to go to the gym or something like that, and you're like, I'm going to go to the gym and work out and stuff, but I'm going to come home from work, or I'm going to leave work, I'm going to go home first, get my gym bag, and then go back to the gym. Well, that's a lot of extra steps, a lot of extra work, and once you get home after a long day at work, kind of the last thing you want to do is go back out. Whereas if you set yourself up to make things easier, where you go work and then to the gym, much more likely that you're actually going to go to the gym and work out and engage in that behavior that is ultimately more challenging and maybe a behavior that you don't necessarily want to do. So that's setting yourself up for success and taking that load off the modern brain to more likely engage in the behavior that you want. Now, what I mean by you get tired is that a lot of people do really great during the day, 9 to 5, no problem. They can go on a diet. They're great for lunch. But as the afternoon goes on, they start to get hungry. They're starting to get tired. They're ready to go home. The things start kind of coming up, and suddenly they're home, or, they messed up dinner, didn't get something out. Suddenly it gets a lot easier to let's just order skip or what have you. And basically you're going to engage in getting the apple pie over the apple because you're tired. Your modern brain is checked out and no longer is kind of helping to run the show and block that primal brain. The 4 things that we look at in terms of managing the primal brain, because one of our primary goals is we want to decrease the signal that primal brain has, or decrease the power that it has. And so the way that we do that is we keep the primal brain as happy as possible. So the 4 things that we look at is, number 1, protein. Protein, 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 protein. The more protein you can get, the better. The second thing is eating consistently through the day. So that might be 3 meals a day, that might be 3 meals and 2 snacks, whatever consistency is for you, but eating more consistently over the day. And the reason for that is because your body can store sugar, it can store fat, but it can't store protein. And so it needs pulses of protein going into the system every single day. The third thing that needs to happen is you need to eat enough. Now, what I mean by that is that your basal metabolic rate, or the amount of energy your body requires to keep the proverbial lights on, so allow your heart beating, lungs working, digestion, and all that kind of jazz, for all those things to happen, your body needs a certain amount of energy going into the system. If you're not reaching that BMR level in terms of calorie intake, you're basically sending a signal to the primal brain that we're dying. Like we are, pull out all the stops, get food into this person immediately, and that's going to drive appetite, cravings, and all that good stuff way, way up. And again, you're going to go for that apple pie over that apple. The final thing we need to look at is fiber. So fiber is going to come from fruits, veggies, all those beautiful things. They're all good and healthy and stuff like that, obviously. Not only that, they help and they increase the volume in our stomach, which sends signals to the primal brain that, hey, we have nutrients, we're full, all that. But it also provides our micronutrients. Because you see, when it comes to that primal brain, if it detects that you're deficient in some kind of salt or whatever like that, so say you're deficient in sodium or salt, it doesn't go, oh, go have a pinch of table salt and everything's good to go. It's going to just send a signal, go eat. And it's going to keep sending that signal until that problem is fixed. So if we eat plenty of fruits and veggies, that helps to beef up our micronutrients, which ultimately is going to allow us to manage the primal brain and decrease that signal, okay? Now, when it comes to the medications and how all of them work, basically what the medications are doing is they're trying to decrease or lower the signal from the primal brain. You can kind of think of the primal brain signal and getting you to have the apple pie over the apple as kind of like a wave, right? And what the medications do is they put up a wall. So the wave kind of crashes against it and can't get through, can't overrun your modern brain, can't get you to go and have the apple pie. However, if you don't take care of those 4 things that we talked about, you don't properly get enough protein, don't eat consistently, etc., well, what's going to happen is that primal brain signal and wave is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger until finally it's going to reach a point where no matter how much of this drug you're trying to build up or how big of a wall you've got going on, it's going to crash over and it's going to get what it wants. And biology always wins. So that is why it's so important to take care of those underlying aspects of things, and that is what I mean by the medication's not working. The wall is still there, but if you're not taking care of that primal brain and properly nourishing your body, no amount of medication is going to fix that problem. You got to eat, you got to get that protein, you got to do those things to help your keep your primal brain at bay and keep that biology back down. And that's why a lot of people, when they come off these drugs, cravings go way out of hand, because all of a sudden wave is there, ready to crash over, wall goes away, and then it's just all hell breaks loose. So that's the short and long of it, I guess you could say. Monica, can you tell me about Metamucil? Yeah, Metamucil is psyllium husk. There's a variety of different flavors. I personally like the sugar-free orange one. Generally, you can get it at Costco in bulk. I think it's the bee's knees. You need to have a teaspoon of it, mix it with some water, and then chug it back. If you don't, it starts to actually thicken up. But it's very great for digestion and making sure you're getting enough fiber, keeps the bowels moving and the pipes clean and stuff. Also can help to fill you up and provide satiety and all that beautiful stuff. And yeah, it's in general pretty sweet. CK Dunk, type 2 diabetes and very overweight. Ozempic dose 1.5 installed at 50 pounds lost. Should I increase the dose? I mean, maybe, as we kind of already talked about, I always recommend optimizing all those other aspects of things first. And once those are optimized, and then you're making sure that you're in a calorie deficit, if you need further appetite reduction, it certainly can help. Betty, it took 2 years for my brain to catch up with my gastric bypass, and now I'm starting to lose again. Awesome. Amber, on Saxenda, can I do my 0.6 injections twice daily to escape the tummy upset? instead of once daily. I mean, technically you can. I'm not really sure if it will correct or help with the tummy issues or not. You could certainly try it. Let me know if it works potentially. But always, of course, double check with your doc and pharmacist that it's okay in your given situation. But kinetically wise, you're probably still going to get the same amount of drug. Maybe less peaks, maybe. But yeah, certainly something to look at. 2NA, can you lose 2 months? Can you lose too much? 1 month started 460 pounds, then to 430, gym 4 to 5 days a week, and better diet. So losing too much, I mean, it's all kind of perspective and kind of what your given situation and stuff like that is. So it's not so much that you can like lose too much. The more weight that you have, the quicker you're ultimately going to lose weight. But if you're properly nourishing your body and providing it the nutrients and stuff that it needs, and you know you're being active and doing all those wonderful things and such like that, then yeah, you're essentially winning in a lot of respects of things, right? So nothing wrong with that aspect and component of things. But losing too much, even with regards to losing quickly, there isn't much data to say that if you lose really quickly, you gain the weight back more quickly or anything like that either. It's just going to be, is it sustainable for you? I think that's the biggest number one aspect. Dawn, I'm on Contrave and I'm dieting and in a calorie deficit and losing weight. Can I stop Contrave? Unless you've like completely overhauled your lifestyle and have some really good patterns, behaviors, and habits and stuff like that in place. Like 95% of people unfortunately can't stop these medications. They need to continue on with them for life to help them in supporting them to manage their weight. Amory Ulrich, does Ozempic dose always just work for a single week or can it go longer? So when you do a single dose of Ozempic, it's going to stay in your system for 4 to 5 to 6 weeks roughly. So it won't be at the same concentration because the half-life of the drug is 1 week. So say if you do a 1 milligram dose today, 1 week from today, half of that dose will be gone. So it'll be only 0.5 milligrams remaining. And then the next week it'll be down to 0.25 and so on and so forth. Generally, when it comes to the kinetics of the body and clearing a drug with half-life and stuff, it's 4 to 5 half-lives before the drug is completely cleared and gone and stuff like that. You're on the 2 milligram, missed my dose day, but I still feel it like, whoa. Yeah, so generally, I mean, you have kind of a 5-day window. So if you miss a dose and your usual dosing day, you have that 5-day window where you can retake that dose or top it up and not have any issues or concerns in general. Beyond 5 days, you got to decrease it down to your previous dosing time, so 1.5, that sort of thing, and then titrate your way back up once you're all good to go. So, yeah, that's kind of some of the respects there. Butters, yes, exactly. Melissa, very helpful. Awesome. Glad you guys liked it. I clearly need to make a better video around this because it seems to really have connected. Butters, can you recommend a good multivitamin? I'm not a big fan of multivitamins, to be honest. It depends on your goals and stuff like that. It depends, you know, what your overall dietary patterns are like. If you can get most of it through your veggies and stuff and whatnot, fantastic, awesome. If you're looking for more just to beef it up, like you don't like veggies or whatever, I mean, you're not, Costco General multivitamin is perfectly fine. Pretty much any of the generic ones are going to be good to go. If you really wanted to get like more in depth and really just overpay and kind of throw money out the window, you could look at a company. It's called Thorne Pharmaceuticals or Thorne something, like THO or THRONE. If you type into like Amazon, it comes up. But their big claim to fame is that they make a whole bunch of multivitamins and stuff, and they like guarantee the purity of every tablet and yada yada yada. So if you're really diehard and wanting that, they would be a company that I would potentially look at. But overall, in terms of the just general multivitamins, try to get it from your diet, or look at specific nutrients like I take things like magnesium, zinc, glucosamine, omega oil, omega 3s. There's something else that I take in there. Calcium, vitamin D. I kind of take all those main ones. Most of them are kind of helping with muscle building and stuff like that in my working out and training, and also protecting my joints a little bit, versus taking like a multivitamin. I just eat a lot of veggies and stuff, and so far so good. ICU nurse Nikki, why does my heart rate go up and can't breathe when I inject my Wegovy? Only for a few minutes. It's a good question. I don't exactly have an answer for you other than you're possibly getting some kind of sympathomimetic response in terms of just how your body is responding to an injection, or it's kind of a very, very low-key trauma, if you will, to the body. So it could be kind of triggering that type of response where your body is like, oh my god, all hands on deck or whatever like that. If it's not leading to anything afterwards, shouldn't be an issue. If you're not getting like any swelling around your mouth, lips, closing off your airway or anything like that, then it's okay. I don't have a good answer for you. Lashandra, does that HE nausea with Mounjaro get better? Generally, for most people, most of the side effects that occur at the start whenever you're on one of these medications, they tend to be transient in nature, and so they do get better. They do ultimately help to mitigate and manage things, so your body just gets used to it over time, in theory. Depends person to person, some people don't. Abby, would it be best to add a probiotic to regimen of meds when on Ozempic and having BM irregularities? I mean, it wouldn't be wrong to add it. Would it be beneficial? Maybe, maybe not. If it's the drug that's driving it and causing the issues and stuff like that, I would probably be looking at water intake, fiber intake, all of those sorts of things, especially if it's like on the constipation side of things. Even if it's on the diarrhea side of things, more fiber and managing your water intake can certainly help all of that. Probiotics, unless you have like IBS or kind of like a disruption with your gut bacteria and stuff like that, say you've taken antibiotics or whatever, there isn't a heck of a lot of evidence to show that they're going to help in that regard of things. So it's not my first go-to unless there's some kind of history that would say otherwise. So, Allison, I've lost 65 pounds so far on Ozempic. I still have 10 pounds to get to goal, but I'm at a standstill. I think the biggest thing that you need to ask yourself at this point is, are the 10 pounds worth it? Right? Because you're going to have to change your diets, your patterns, and everything like that even further. You're going to have to put yourself into a more significant calorie deficit, maybe increase your activity level, all those sorts of things. And in order for you to do those things, are they going to be sustainable into the future? If they're not, then that 10 pounds might not be worth it. If they are, cool, more power to you. Those are the changes you got to make. Got to put yourself in a calorie deficit to lose that further weight. But if you're not going to be able to sustain those changes long term, what's going to happen is you're going to lose the 10 pounds and then you're just going to gain it back because it wasn't sustainable. So is that 10 pounds actually worth it? Does it matter? A lot of questions to kind of ask there. CK Dunk, I really want to move from Ozempic to Mounjaro, but still not in Canada. Any idea when? I actually just had a chat today with some of the makers of Mounjaro. I might be doing a whole bunch of work with them, just FYI. But they have kind of earmarked it for fall of 2023, whether that means September or whether that means November. I have no idea. But yeah, they're working on it. They're kind of planning for it. They're going to start gearing up, I think, the marketing of it pretty quick here. And so, yeah, I'm thinking the fall, latest 2024, but we'll see. Damn, you said my name right. Good job, and thanks for answering my questions. Awesome. That is a first for me in most cases, but my pleasure. My dose actually feels the strongest the day I'm supposed to take another one. It is odd. Interesting. Very, very, very interesting. Yeah, I don't have a good reason as to why that's the case. Hey Dan, I called in, left a message. Do you have bariatric vitamins? Oh, you missed me in the pharmacy. As of right now, no. I'm working on them. It's on my to-do list. But right now, I do not have them in stock. I've been ridiculously overwhelmed with brand new consults. So it's a work in process. Yeah, give me a call because I feel like I got that message, but it's somewhere in my piles of things to do and stuff like that. And we can see where you're at and such like that. CK Dunk, I had a surgery. They made me stop Ozempic for a week, 1.5 milligram dose. Should I go back to that dose? So unless you're within the 5-day window of when you stopped it, you should go back down to your to a lower dose. If you're outside of that 5-day window, enough of the drug would have metabolized at that point that you're going to want to start at a lower dose. If you go back to the original dose, you're probably going to have a gnarly time. Yeah, so I would definitely chat with your care team and stuff like that, but definitely want to start at a lower dose if you're outside of 5 days. Becca, can I safely use Ozempic if I have heart failure? Yeah, there's really no, well, there is no contraindications in terms of heart failure or anything like that. Yeah, I work with a lot of people that are on Ozempic and have heart failure, so no worries, no concerns there. Yeah, not a concern. Butters, do side effects from full dose of Contrave subside eventually? Wooziness, yucky feeling in the head. Yes, it's kind of transient, similar to Ozempic. It depends how long you've been on it and stuff like that. I would say if you've been at full dose, so the 2 tablets in the morning and 2 tablets at night, if you've been on that dose for, I'd say a month or so and things are still not subsiding or getting any better, then yeah, it might not be the medication for you and the side effects might not go away, or it might be a matter of we need to use a lower dose of it or something like that. Lashandra, thank you. My pleasure. Abby, thank you for answering my questions. My pleasure, guys. It's why we do the lives once a month right now for the summer, and then we'll ramp it up to once a week again come September, October, something like that. Lisa, I'm on day 2 of Saxenda, not feeling anything. Is that all right? Yes. Some people don't feel anything until they get up to the 3 milligram dose. You just started the drug at the dose you're currently at. It hasn't even peaked in your system yet. So, yeah, be patient, let it build up, and go from there. Dawn, it's the out-of-pocket cost that's making me want to stop Contrave. If I have changed habits and continue with the deficit, will not taking it make me gain it back? If you change your habits and stuff like that, well, okay, so the people that are the most successful in terms of coming off of these medications and maintaining their weight long term, there's some basic things that they do. So if you're here for the chat on the the primal brain, modern brain aspect, they do all the primal brain stuff really, really well. So they get the protein, they eat consistently through the day, they eat a good amount of calories. When they've reached kind of their goal weight or whatever like that, they have worked to increase their calorie intake back up to what their maintenance should be. So they're not technically in a deficit, and they eat plenty of fruits and veggies. Other things that people do is they eat breakfast, they generally exercise an hour each day. They do all the stuff to help the modern brain, which is like stress management, getting plenty of sleep, hacking your environment so that habits are easy to engage in and stuff like that. And then they have a much better relationship with the scale in general. And so what I mean by that is that instead of this idea that, your goal weight is, say, again, 150 pounds, they don't have this idea that every single day they wake up, they have to be 150 pounds. They have a weight range because they understand their weight's going to fluctuate on a day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month, season-to-season basis. And so most often I recommend a plus or minus 10-pound weight range, and that gives you kind of the ability to be like, oh yeah, you know what, Christmas, probably going to gain some weight. Literally everybody across the globe gains some weight over Christmas because we all eat more food. But once you get back for the New Year's or whatever like that, you might be up 10 pounds, but you know exactly what was able to help you to maintain, your 150 pounds. So you just get back on track and you just keep on going. You understand that you have a weight range and that weight's going to fluctuate versus what most people do. They come back from Christmas and they're like, oh my God, I'm not 150 pounds now. Fuck it, screw it, or whatever kind of thing. Their whole world falls apart. So it's kind of having that better understanding and that better relationship and knowing that, yeah, your weight's going to fluctuate and that's okay. You know the skills and things to manage your weight. So having that better relationship in that respect and not having all of your self-worth tied up into the scale, and when that number reads something that you don't like, it doesn't ruin your day. So that's kind of some of the things that definitely need to happen in order for you to maintain the weight and to keep weight off long term and stuff. CK Dunk, yay, exciting, thank you, my pleasure. Melissa, what is the recommended daily water intake? I'm 47 and perimenopause also. Generally, you can't go wrong with the 8 cups a day. It's pretty standard, pretty easy. If you're active, like right now here in Calgary, it's plus 30 ridiculous degrees or something like that. So, I usually on average drink anywhere from 3 to 4.5 liters. Probably today I've put back like 6 liters. So depends on what you're doing, what you got going on, how active you are and stuff like that. But 8 cups of water or the 8 liters of water, or not 8 liters, 2 liters of water a day is kind of the bare minimums to kind of start with. Wish TRICARE would get on the train. They'll cover bariatric surgery, but not anything for weight loss. That's interesting. Jules, can I be prescribed Ozempic for weight loss due to shortages of Wegovy? Canada on Saxenda, but it's not working. Ozempic can technically be used for weight loss here in Canada. In particular, we don't have a shortage with Ozempic or anything, so we technically could use it for weight management and such like that. More or less what it's going to come down to is whether your insurance company will provide coverage for it. If you don't have diabetes, they will not cover Ozempic in general. Some insurance companies, they don't require a special authorization. They just cover the drug right out the gate. If that happens to be your situation, you're good to go. Then you could definitely get it and get it covered. If it requires special authorization, you're going to have to be on diet or have diabetes. I've tried a couple other agents, and go from there. Adrian, why does Ozempic make me sick? So Ozempic, the way that it works is a couple of different ways. Part of the GI side effects that it causes is because it's slowing down how quickly food goes from your stomach to your small intestine. So if things aren't moving through as quickly, well, things are going to kind of want to be making their way back up your esophagus. So that can lead to things like nausea, heartburn, and that sort. If it's slowing down your GI tract as well, that can lead to constipation. Poop's kind of just sitting there for longer, more of the water around it gets sucked up, things aren't moving quite as well, and so that definitely can cause some of the GI issues. There also, we think, there's some kind of mechanism maybe within the brain that has a downstream effect that can cause and lead to nausea as well. We don't exactly know all the ins and the outs, but that's kind of the gist of it. Nikki, I've taken Ozempic for 2 months and haven't lost a pound yet. You are not in a calorie deficit. So, again, these medications, they're tools in the toolbox. You still got to put yourself in a calorie deficit, and that is going to require, generally in most cases, some level of tracking. Yes, it's going to help to reduce your hunger and stuff like that, But if you're just eating exactly the same and not making any lifestyle changes and taking this drug and just expecting things to happen, it's not the way that the world works, right? You need to track, you need to see if you're truly in a calorie deficit or not. And yeah, if you're in a calorie deficit, you're going to lose weight. Amanda, my insurance won't cover Ozempic anymore. I fell off the wagon when I tore my MCL 1.5 months ago. Oh, that really sucks. Yeah, I mean, the best thing to do is just kind of, you know what habits you were doing and stuff like that and engaging in, so just kind of re-engaging them and doing your best to implement it, keep it simple, make small little tweaks and changes at a time, build on things that you're already doing. So if you're already getting breakfast in, for example, add some more protein to it. If you're already getting a good lunch or whatever, add a snack in, different things like that. Emily Sue, Wegovy makes me hate all food I used to love. I only want fruit and bland foods. Why? Ozempic decreases your want and drive for food. So basically it's going to help you to choose the apple over the apple pie more consistently. And so yeah, it's going to affect the reward center of your brain and make those foods less appealing. That's how it ultimately helps in managing weight and such like that. CK Dunk, if I'm on 2 milligrams of Ozempic and switch to Mounjaro, what dose would I be started at? Good question. It's going to really vary person to person, how much side effects you had. I honestly would probably start you off at like 5 milligrams of Mounjaro and then work the dose up from there. The reason being is just because Mounjaro is considerably more potent. You might find, yeah, it is causes more side effects at a lower dose and stuff. So it's better to start low, then transition right over to the high dose, and you have a buttload of side effects and be in a world of hurt for a while. So, Butters, you're so helpful. Thank you. My pleasure. Amanda, does Alberta Health cover the balloon? Would you recommend that procedure? As far as I know, Alberta Health doesn't cover that balloon, and no, I wouldn't recommend that procedure. Yeah, most people, it's not effective long term for them. Theochem, it's hard to hear you. I would recommend cranking that volume up there on your phone. Jules, great, thank you for the info. My pleasure. Power Girl, hi Dr. Dan, I've been on Contrave since Friday. See you Friday. Sweet, looking forward to it. Can Ozempic be prescribed by pharmacists, or do you have to go to a doctor? Depends where you're at. So here in Alberta, I currently have possibly, for sure, the first pharmacist-run obesity clinic here in Calgary. Possibly, well, I'm pretty sure the first pharmacist-run obesity clinic in Alberta, and possibly even in Canada and the globe potentially. And so I prescribe Ozempic, I prescribe Saxenda, I prescribe Contrave. I do all of the above all day long, and that's what I did today, was see patients all day, and yeah, so it all depends. Alberta pharmacists can prescribe, but everywhere else it's probably going to have to be by a doctor. Kathy, hey Dan, long time since I've seen you on live. What's going on, Kathy? We are currently doing, once a month because it is summer and all that wonderful stuff, but September will be more consistent and doing weekly lives again. Christy, it helps so much with cravings and food noise. Yeah, that's a big one. A lot of people kind of tell me about how, it just calms everything down and just lets you, it takes care of that primal brain aspect of it, and allows you to just kind of think a little bit more clearly and stuff. Rebecca, it's almost impossible to find a doctor in Alberta right now. Yep, it definitely is. That's been one of my biggest problems, is I have so many patients that don't have a family doctor and aren't being properly managed, and yes, I'm managing their obesity, but then also managing a buttload of other things while helping them to try and find a doctor. Rebecca, is Mounjaro available in Alberta? So it's not available here in Alberta quite yet. Fall 2023, maybe as late as 2024. Stay tuned. Dawn, sorry, last question. Once ideal weight is achieved, how do you go from a deficit to maintenance? So, good question. Once you've reached your weight, basically what you want to do is, look at, okay, say you're eating 1,500 calories a day as an example, and you're at your goal weight and stuff like that. To go up to your maintenance level, the next week you go up to 1,600 calories. Do that every single day. The next week you go up to 1,700, 1,800, 1,900, and so on. Do it on a week-by-week basis, and basically get your calories up to whatever your predicted maintenance level of calories is. So, so that's kind of what it would be by figuring out your total daily energy expenditure. There's tons of calculators online. You can also check out my website, healthevolved.co. I have a calculator on there that you can punch in your info on and stuff like that, and it'll tell you how much you need for maintenance and stuff. But basically, you just slowly increase your calories. Of course, there's going to be an increase on the scale, but it's not going to be fat increase unless you go very rapidly or fall off the wagon and stuff. It will be, water, poop, more food in the system, so those kinds of things. It won't actually be fat gain or anything like that. CK Dunk, makes sense, thank you. Amanda, is it possible to have a video appointment with you? It's hard to get any help from my family doctor. If you're in Alberta, I am taking and seeing clients. I think I'm booking into July, end of July right now. But yeah, if you give us a call at the pharmacy, 403-993-6678. Wow, I'm blanking on that right now. Apothecary Pharmacy, links are in my bio and stuff like that. If you're in Alberta, yeah, for sure, give us a call, and we'll get you booked in and stuff like that. And I do video appointments and stuff, and help people out. So yeah, if you're in Alberta. West Van Wardells, still craving sugar on 0.5 Ozempic. Increase your protein intake and stuff like that. Optimize your diet. Rebecca, what is the wait time for your clinic? So right now I'm booking into July-ish right now, end of July. It's been wild, but yeah, that's kind of the general times and stuff like that at present. CK Dunk, we need you in Ontario, for sure. I mean, if only we could, I could do what I could do out in Ontario, unfortunately. Ontario doesn't allow me to do what I do here. Fortunately for Alberta, I have a very advanced scope of practice, and I'm able to do the kind of cool things that I'm doing here with the obesity clinic and stuff like that. So, and Amanda, I'm in Drayton Valley. I'm 4-ish hours away from you, so getting there is difficult. Thank you so much. No problem, Amanda. Rebecca, is there any lab work required to start Ozempic? Yes, I usually order a slew of blood work and stuff like that after an initial appointment with a patient, basically just to update everything and to check end organ function and various things like that, kind of see what we're dealing with, or if I have any other suspicions or concerns or whatever, and then we get a baseline, and then we decide if therapy's right or whatever, and then I see about getting coverage and stuff like that and what's possible, and then we get the ball rolling. Sorry, another question. How much is Ozempic if you're paying out of pocket? If you're paying out of pocket for Ozempic, I think it's $230 to $250 a month at a 1 milligram dose. So if you were to go to 2 milligrams plus, you're looking at probably like $500 a month kind of thing. So 1 milligram, $230 to $250, somewhere in there. And Romana, yes, so not only do I provide pharmacist services here in Alberta, but I also do coaching worldwide, so it's a focus on the lifestyle aspect of things. Not necessarily, I can't prescribe or anything like that if you're outside of Alberta, but you can certainly see people anywhere in the world. Lindsay, $250 a month. It's the same across all milligrams. Do you increase Ozempic after 1 milligram? So you can increase it. Ozempic can go to a dose of 2 milligrams once per week. It is approved for diabetes management at 2 milligrams, and semaglutide is the molecule in Ozempic, and it's also found in Wegovy, and Wegovy can go to a dose of 2.4 milligrams once per week. Banjo, if a patient's already on Ozempic, can you help with coaching? Absolutely, I definitely can. Tamara, Ozempic is cheaper at Costco. Second most affordable is Walmart in Ontario. Yeah, you got her. Lindsay, it goes to 2. Yes, it does. Oh. User 394, but you advise me on managing with my team here in Ontario, endocrinologist. Yes, that is true. Very, very true. So, helping on all the various fronts and everything like that. Lindsay, all my weight came back on when I quit. Pretty common. Amal, yes, Costco, I think Ontario's more than here in Alberta. Yeah, it really varies. I've been seeing different prices and stuff, and it depends on what the wholesaler's getting it for and different things like that. So prices can sometimes adjust and change a little bit, and yeah. A friend told my sister she's paying $800 a month, and I don't believe that. Yeah, even at the high end of Ozempic, you wouldn't necessarily, that would be like a 3-month supply maybe. But what are your thoughts on berberine for weight loss? Berberine is not useful for weight loss at all. Blood sugar management, yeah, it's kind of variable in some respects, but overall not that effective at all or anything like that. So in terms of weight management and such. So yeah. But anyways, guys, my brain is like starting to check out on me, so I'm going to leave it at that for tonight. As always, it is a pleasure and stuff like that. We'll be back next month for another live, so the beginning of July, yes, because it's June. Yeah, I'm cooked. All right, yeah, I will have this recorded and uploaded onto the YouTube, so you can check out the links in my bio if you want to see the full video and stuff. But I hope everybody has a wonderful evening, and wear that sunscreen. Talk to you guys later.